Hello everyone. So now let's just start with control flow statements. So as the name suggests, control flow means directing where the program should move, right? That's what these statements do. Okay. So basically we have three primary division of control flow statements according to their nature or characteristics. So the first one is decision making, second is loop, and third is jump statements. Decision making means here they have to do some a decision is made over here. Okay, let's just understand it that way, because when we do practical question then we'll understand how the decision has been made, right? That's decision making. Loop means to iterate or do the same thing over and over and over again until a certain condition is being met. Okay, here we do the same thing time and again, but in decision making what we do is we see the condition. If it is true, we move ahead. If it is false, we move to the next block, right? That's what decision making is. Jump statements, these statements are used to either we can say jump statements help us to exit the flow or continue to the flow. It directs us how the flow should move, right? In break, what it does is it stops the code execution. Okay, in continue, it continues the execution over and over again. And in pass is just used for where we need something in syntax, we use pass. Otherwise there's no role that pass does. There's no function that pass performs. All right, it is a substitute for continue, but in continue what it does is it goes to the beginning of the code and run it again. But in pass it just moves forward without executing anything, right? That is what we're going to see them in detail when we do the coding. This time I have taken some questions so that we can practice control flow statements as well as some other concept that we have already done, because that will make us connect the dots, that what of all the things that we have learned, how are they related to each other. Okay, so let's start with decision making, and we're going to start with if else. This is all very very similar. Okay, so let's start. This is a flow chart. This tells how the control is going to flow, right? So there's this condition. Here we have if condition. If it is true, then we go inside the block. If it is not true, it goes to the else block. And it does what is written in the else block. Okay, let's just take a very simple example. Let's just say that we're checking if the age is... Okay, let's just say age of any person is 12. And we're going to say if they're eligible to vote or not. Okay, we're making condition of that one. Okay, if age is less than 18, then what do we say? We will print not eligible to vote. Okay, and here see, indentation is very important. If block will start here, but whatever we have to write inside the if is going to be after this little space, this tab. And the else block will come in the same inclination as else. Okay, and let's just copy this code, and in else it is eligible to vote, because if you're above 18 you're eligible to vote. Okay, let's see what it prints. Not eligible to vote. Why it did not print this? Because it is not satisfying this condition. It is false over here, it is true over here. So this code block is run. This is not. Why? Because it is true. Now suppose I make the age 62. See, eligible to vote. Why? Because here the if condition says age should be if it is less than 18, so it is greater than 18, right? It is false. So we move to the else block. And else block says eligible to vote. That's how if else decision making work. Okay, this is if else. If we don't include the else statement, it won't print anything here. Okay, let's just see. See, it did not print anything. Why? Because this is false. So this won't execute this code. and we don't have anything else, so it is going to be singularly this. That is if. What we did earlier was if else. Okay, suppose we add one more condition. Okay, let's say for marriage. Okay, if you're greater than 18 and if your gender is equal to female, then you're eligible to. That's the rule right now in India. If you're female and you're above 18, you're eligible to marry. But if that is not true, I forgot the indentation here. In another if, we have to indent it one more time. But if you're above 18 and your gender is other than anything female, then you're not eligible to marry. You can't get married according to the law. Although the law has been passed that a woman can marry only after she is 21, but it has not been implemented yet. Okay, so let's just see if the person is, let's just specify the gender also. Okay, male. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be a string and I did not write string. A little bit syntax error. So he is eligible to marry because it is plus 18. Okay, and it is female, so it is eligible to marry. Suppose it is female and it is 62, it is still going to show the same. But if you're 2 years old, oh, I wrote the same thing, sorry. So not eligible to marry because you're less than. Now suppose you're 18 and you're male, not eligible to marry. I should write greater than or equal to. Okay, I hope this is understood, right? It's a little mix match because if you're 21, let me specify, if I'm going to use the AND logical operation also, right? Let's use elif. Okay, we don't have to use elif. Okay, we'll use else if. Now we specify that age is greater than or equal to 21 and gender is equal to male, then you're eligible to marry. But if you're not, what is the error here? So this, let me check what's the error. Okay, we use elif here. Let's see if it, so you're eligible to marry if you're 21, right? But if you're 20, you're not eligible to marry. It won't, there's a loophole, there's a bug over here, but we don't have to go through that. We understood the concept of if else. The bugs they come and go, but the main thing that we have to understand is how the if work. We know now how if, elif, all this works. We cannot write else if, we use elif. If we have to write the condition, we use elif. And then it actually, I got the bug, we did not write else. Else, what we do is we just print not eligible. So it is not eligible. See why? Because you're male and you're 20. That's why you're not eligible. So we got the bug and we did it. So if elif else is, so this is nested. If we have if in another if, this is nested if. If elif else, when we have multiple if condition, we use if elif else. Okay, and if else is singular. So this is how it works. This is nested if. Now that we've understood nested if, do you want to do the questions first, or do we want to look through the other things first? Let's just see what loops are also, right? Basics we'll do first, then we'll move on to some questions. So loop, what does loop does is, it checks whether, first we're going to do the while loop, then we're going to do the for loop, and for the nested loops we'll see the questions only. Okay, so while loop, what happens in while loop is, we first check whether the condition is true or not. If the condition is true, then we enter the code block and we repeat that, we repeat the execution of that code until that condition is not false. Okay, so that's how long we just keep on executing the statement. See, we got in the condition, we saw if it is false, we move out of it. But if it is true, we execute the statement and we come back and check the condition again. That is how we do. Okay, so let's see. While x is less than 10, print x. Okay, and let's just initialize x as 0, but this would keep on repeating. This will become infinite loop because we're not making any changes to x. So what we're going to do is, we're going to make it x minus minus. So let's understand it this way. I don't know, let's see if x minus minus works. This doesn't work here, so x is equal to x minus c. Now you remember what we're doing. This is what we've done in assignment operator. So it is going to subtract 1 from, we are supposed to add 1 to the x and assign the value to x. See what we got, we incremented it by 1. If I had not written this condition, it would be an infinite loop, because it would keep on executing it, because the x is not changing and it is satisfying the condition every time. So it would be an infinite loop. That is how while work. Okay, it executes until the condition is being satisfied. What does for loop do? In for loop, we don't have to specify this over here, right? We use while loop when we don't know where to end. When we know where we want to end, when we know the start, when we know the end, we use for loop. But when we don't know the end, we use while loop. Okay, so let's just see for loop. Let's create a list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is the list that we have. So we now create a proxy or an alias name for the elements in this one. Okay, so you can name it any which ways. Okay, but when you run the code, you use that name only. So let's just say I call this list and its element as I, for I in to find. Now that we have to iterate over all these elements, what we'll do is we'll just write the name of the list. Okay, and now I'm going to print this I. So what are we going to get? We're going to get all these numbers. See, got it? But if I make a very slight change, you're going to see a difference. If I write I am now specifying it, the position, the indexing. Okay, so now it is going to give me what? I is 1 and it is also 1. So what is it is going to return me? It's going to return me 2 first. So it is going to be 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm sorry, this is not how it's going to work, but we can work it. I can show it to you in a different way. Suppose we take the length. Now what we can do is we're going to write LST 1 and this. Why is it not working? Let's just see what it prints here. To understand, see, I'm also new here. So I can also make some mistakes, but okay, we are all here to learn, no? Int object is not iterable. Why is it so? It worked in the first place, no? Oh, that time it was a list. So we're going to see this, I'm going to figure out the way why it did not work that way. It usually does, I've done questions of this sort. Maybe it's because it is integer, that is why it did not work. Let's just make it, So this is the length. Let's just see what it prints. Oh, I'm printing the length of it, right? This is not how it works. Okay, got it. You know why it did not work? Because I was iterating over the length. I was iterating over something that is not iterable. Integers are not iterable, right? We remember that. That's what my mistake was, okay? There's one more way, You remember for the range thing that we've done? For X we've already used, so I'm going to change. We add in like, and we're going to add it by 2. We're going to print y. Again a syntax error. See, so I started with 0, I ended on 14, and I'm going to add by 2. That is my range. This is how it is going to print. So this is what we do in for loop. Okay, is that clear? So now that we've done all this, all that we're left with is some questions. So we'll just quickly do those questions also. Okay, let's see the first question that we're supposed to do. So I have already written the code because the video is already too long, and it will get even longer if I write the code and at the same time explain it. So I'll just quickly explain it. It is very, very easy though. There are going to be some new things that we do as we proceed, but this is all going to be very, very easy to understand because we've already done the basics. Okay, so the question is asking us to make implement the calculator things, and we're going to take 2 numbers from the user, and we'll give them we'll give them an instruction to enter a digit that is going to represent that is going to tell what digit they should enter to perform specified operations. Okay, so the first line and the second line is to fetch the 2 numbers. So for that we've used an input. So the input function, the input method, what it does is it takes data from the user. Okay, and what we've done is we've converted into integer. Okay, because to perform mathematical calculation they have to be in integer format. We cannot perform calculation on strings, right? So we converted it into integer. Then we printed a statement that says if you want to add, enter 1. If you want to subtract these numbers, enter 2. If you want to multiply, enter 3. Divide, enter 4. Divide and find quotient, enter 5. Divide and find remainder, 6. How we find quotient? Using floor division, right? All this we've written, okay? All the operations that we've already done, all the basic arithmetic operations. Okay, this is what we get. So what we've used here, if else if, sorry, I by default it is the habit of saying else if, but it is elif. Okay, if the operator, this, then we've asked the user to give us the operator. After printing the instruction, we've asked to give the operator, and we've converted into integer only. Okay, because why? Because we're asking them to enter 1, 2, 3, 4 according to the operation they want to enter. Okay, so if the operator is equal to 1, is equal to is, what is this? This is not assignment. Do we remember? This is comparison, equality. Okay, so if it is 1, then we print sum is equal to, and then we add. We passed what? We passed these two numbers that we got, and we added them using the addition operator. Elif, if this is not the operator, then you move on to this. If this is the operator, then you do difference. If this is also not, then you move forward. If this is, then we don't move any further, you know. If we have asked for multiplication, then we're going to end here. This is how it works, okay? Exponent, remainder, quotient, division, everything. Here, it is going to be this. So let's run it. So it is asking us to enter number 1. Let's enter 10. Enter. There's no spacing, but this number is 10 only, okay? Let's enter another number as 10 only. What operations do we want to perform? Let's perform multiplication, okay? 3. So we get 100. 10 into 10 is 100. Okay? So this is like very easy basic calculator thing that we've made. Okay? I hope you've understood the code. I've already written the code because it makes our work very easy. Understanding it makes it is easier, right? So this is how if elif, see the indentation. All the if elif part is here, but the code that needs to be executed is after a little space, after the little indentation. So the indentation here is very, very important. If we don't have indentation, okay, suppose I remove the indentation, it is going to raise an error, because indentation is very much important in Python. Let's perform one more operation, right? 21 and let's say 10, and let's perform floor division. Let's find the quotient, okay? 5. See, this was an error. Let's do it again, okay? 21 and 10, and we're going to find quotient. See, 2. Why? Because it is 2.1. We don't print the decimal part in floor division. We just did it, right? One video before. So let's move on to the next one. Write a program to check if year entered by user is a leap year or not. Okay, basic. We know these are the leap years and these are non-leap years, okay? What we've done is, we've taken the variable name year and we've entered a year, okay? Now, instead of doing the conversion here, I've done the conversion here. I've converted this string into integer, because to perform the modulus part, the remainder part, I need to have integer. Why did I divide it by 4? Because all the leap years, how do we distinguish the leap years? Because all the leap years are divisible by 4, right? It happens every 4 years. So this is how. So if by dividing it by 4 we get 0, so it is divisible, it is fully divisible by 4. So it is a leap year. So I've taken this if condition. If this is the condition, if year is divided by 4 and leaves the remainder 0, it is divisible by 4. So it is a leap year. I've entered the year, and this is how I've printed. I've entered the year, comma, so I've variable, comma, this is the string part. This is how we can print, variable and strings together, okay? So this is basically concatenation, but in a different way, okay? So let's enter any year and see if it works. Let's enter 2024, the year that we are in. It is a leap year. Let's run it again and check for the year 2026. It's not a leap year. Okay, so now that we know this code, how this works, let's see it one more time, because if else is something that we use a lot. So this is to check whether a number is even or odd, okay? If even, then prints the number. Whatever the number is, we have to just print it that it is an even number or it is an odd number. Else it is an odd number. Sorry, this was an error. So how to check if a number is even or not odd? Simple way. If a number is divisible by 2, it is even number. If it is not, okay, so if the number is divisible by 2, we print even. Here also I've made the conversion here while doing the calculation. Otherwise it is the same number. If I print the, I'll also print here the type of num. Okay, let's enter an even number only. 480. Okay, it is a string. Why? Because I made the conversion here. If I would have made the conversion here, it would show me int. Okay, let's see. So see, it shows me int. I made the conversion here, so it is int. Otherwise, if I would have done it here, it would have been string only. So 24 is divisible by 2, so it is showing us even number. Suppose the number that I enter is 67. It is an odd number, right? But it is not divisible by 2. Okay, moving on to the loops. Let's start with the while loop. Okay, this is little complicated, but if we see, we're going to understand it. Okay, so this is the string. What we have to do is we have to write it backwards. Okay, so the last part is going to be the first. This is what we're doing, reversing it. Sorry. So we made string 1, we've entered the same string, and for the output we've made another string 2. Okay, x is the length of string 1 minus 1. Why did we do minus 1? Because the length starts the iterations start at 0. So this is 0. So the p is at 0, e is at 1. This is how it starts. So that is why we did minus 1. So we don't know. So what we're going to do, while x is not equal to 0, when is x going to be 0? When it is going to reach p. Okay, we're starting from behind. We've set x as we find the length. Suppose let's take it for a little shorter example. Suppose it is only Peter. So the length is 5. But if we calculate it, if we iterate over it, we use 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So the length is 5. But to do the iteration, we have to minus 1 because the counting starts for iteration from 0. Okay? So we've got the last point. We've got this. Okay? So this is the last point, and we have to keep on doing it. We have to reduce x until we get it, until it is not equal to 0. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the assignment operator. So in string 2, I'm going to add string 1 x part. X is indexing. We're using indexing to access this part. So whatever in string 1, whatever is length x, length of string 1 minus 1, whatever, suppose for this Peter only, so this is 4. So on 4th item we have r. So this r is going to be added to string 2. Then we already have r, so r, after r we're going to have add e. This is how it's going to work. So instead of writing this, let's just do it for Peter. See, we got is we did not reach 0. Why is that so? We're going to check it. X is not equal to let's see if it works this way. While x Why is it not showing us anything? There's a little bug. We're going to figure that out later, but I hope you understood the concept that we did here. Okay, this we've used the assignment operator. Okay, we've done the calculation, we've assigned it. So this, how it is going to work, how it is working, I'm telling you. See, what it did was, the x was at, the pointer was at dot, so it, the string 2 had dot in it. Okay, on the first iteration. In second iteration, what happened is dot plus the last item was added to it. Okay, dot plus the new item, the new index, we minus 1, we did minus 1 in the x, so it reduced the length, so we added s to it. In the same way, in string 2, in the next loop, what happened is we had this, so what it, and the pointer was at r, so we added r to it. In the fourth iteration, what happened was we had point sr, and now it was pointing to e, the cursor was at e. So this is how the calculation was happening. Okay, I hope this is clear to everybody. Let's see the for loop, last question, and then we will be done with this thing. Okay, so we have to find all the p and we have to print their indexes. Wherever we find the p, we're going to find indexes. You remember the mistake that we made earlier? That was because of the range. We had to use the word range to convert the integer into iterable form. Okay, so what we're doing is, for I in range, what is the range? In range, we know start and step is not compulsory, but stop is very, very important, right? So for the stop, we've entered the length of string 1. Okay, so it is going to iterate over the entire length. And then we've added if condition. So in for, we can also have if. So we can include anything, like in a for we can have while, we can have if else, we can have nested if else, anything we want. So in for, we added a condition that if the ith element of string 1 is equal to p, then we have to print I. Why did we print I? Because it is asking us to print the indexes. Okay, it has already given us all the indexes where p are. Let's just check if it is true. Oh, we got it. I hope this was easy for everybody. For the stop, step, and continue, we're going to understand this when we do in the next video, when we do the functions, because therein we're going to do practical questions, and therein we're going to see how these are very, very useful. I hope this was a fun thing to learn, and it is very easy though. But even if you have some problems, just bear with me, just move, just take classes, just practice things, everything will fall into place. And if you have even a single iota of doubt, feel free to comment. I'll reply each one of you. Thank you so much.